What is going on, you stallions and stallionettes? AK40 Kevin here in the gamer heaven. So Microsoft is doing some real black magic voodoo trickery to boost their old games. We're talking Xbox 360, Xbox Original, and Xbox One games to double their frame rate from 30 to 60 or 60 to 120. It's rumored they might even boost some games from 30 to 120, thus quadrupling its original frame rate without having to do any kind of patches or updates to the game. Crazy stuff, right? Let's talk about it. Alrighty guys, sharing my screen over here. I have an article that I've highlighted up a little bit to mention some of the key points so I don't forget them and whatnot. So Microsoft has made a huge push for backward compatibility. Obviously, Xbox has kind of led the forefront when it comes to consoles and backward compatibility. Nintendo's kind of jumping on the bandwagon, trying to bring some of their NES and SNES games to the platform as well. But Xbox traditionally has always had a massive library of the previous two generation consoles or more. And I gotta say, what they're doing here is awesome because they're taking titles that you have played and are probably quite nostalgic to you and boosting the frame rate, doubling them from 30 to 60 or 60 to 120. This is available on both the Xbox Series S and X. So for you S owners like myself, you're going to get all these same features. So the feature itself is called FPS Boost. Sure enough, no tiptoeing around the name there. This article will be linked in the description below. I always cite my sources anytime I cover any news or any kind of topic where an article is involved, which is quite a bit on this channel. So I will have this linked in the description below. I also have some highlights on here. So we actually have a more in-depth breakdown of how it works because Digital Foundry, being who they are, did some tests on the game, some in-depth frame rate tests and resolution tests, test some of the script and code running in the background during these remasters, or I guess you could say boosted titles, to see how they actually worked, and they have some reports here. All internal game logic continues to render at its original target frame rate, yet the crucial stuff for 3D frame rate performance, from animations to camera movement, can get a frame rate boost without breaking the underlying game. And then Richard Ledbetter, who's one of the big dogs over there at Digital Foundries, drops his 2 cents in the old coin purse and says that this is actually kind of comparative to the PC scene. What we've seen with mods were older games, for example, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, where the actual developer is completely done with it. They're not going to give any further updates or support. The game community steps in there, and PC modders will add texture packs and basically make the game look like a brand new modern title. And that's kind of what we're seeing here, but with frame rate. Particularly post-processing injector mods like Reshade that fans often applied to PC versions left unattended by their creators. Like I mentioned, this is available on both the X and S, which makes sense because even though the Series S is about a third of the graphical power, teraflops-wise, than the Series X, it runs on the same exact software. It has the exact same operating system. And the 5 games they decided to roll out for this introductory new game boost or FPS boost are pretty interesting. I don't know why they chose these titles, but we have UFC 4. These are all Xbox One titles, by the way. UFC 4, New Lucky's Tale, Far Cry 4, Watch Dogs 2, and Sniper Elite 4. The only 2 of these that I personally would play to see what the new frame rate's like and that I actually owned originally was Far Cry 4 and Watch Dogs 2. These other ones, you know, maybe you're a UFC fan or something, I don't know, but for me, those are the only 2 titles that actually matter. So the graphics are still the same, but you're getting a boost, a double boost in frames per second or refresh rate, which is great. Also, it is rather interesting that none of these games were actually Microsoft first-party titles. They were not published by Microsoft Studios, which may be a power play to impress upon fans that these patches might soon show up for any older games. So don't just think they're going to be doing these to their Xbox One exclusives and Xbox 360 exclusives. It could be any game that was on those platforms by any third-party dev, which is freaking awesome. I mean, I feel like they're going to be doing this to a big chunk of the library, which is a big backward compatible library. And granted, all we've seen here with these titles that are playable now is a double, which is still, that's, you know, double the frame rate. That's still nothing to scoff at, but people are rumoring that this is going to be some games from 30 to 120 frames per second, in essence, quadrupling the original frame rate, which I think is crazy. But that's not all. But wait, there's more. I sound like I'm trying to sell you guys something. I'm just trying to give you guys the news. But they're not just doing a frame rate boost. They're also going to have new graphical shaders and filters that you can add as well. And that's going to be coming in the near future around spring. It says Xbox Series consoles, while new per game series of visual toggles are going to be rolling out this spring, this menu will include frames per second boost, which we've been talking about this whole time, auto high dynamic range, and perhaps other options like anisotropic. I have a hard time with that word. We'll call it A filtering. So it really goes to show that these new generation consoles are getting a lot more like gaming PCs by offering, field of view sliders in games, by offering 2 different visual modes on a lot of games, like a frames per second, but less graphics mode, and then also a full-on, 4K HDR mode, but with a lower frame rate of about 30 or 60. So that's pretty awesome that you're getting all these tweaks behind the scenes that have never really been seen on console before, but have been in the PC space for years. Also, they did tease around in the past about wanting to boost up the frame rate of Fallout 4. However, that game, as you can see from the list, was not on there, which is interesting. Definitely are going to do Fallout and probably a lot of other Bethesda games because they own Bethesda in the largest ever acquisition of a gaming studio, the largest monetary, I don't remember off top, but I did cover it when it happened. It was like millions of dollars. Microsoft purchased Bethesda, so they have the rights to Skyrim and Fallout and all those other Bethesda games, which are most likely going to get a frame rate boost as well. So honestly, I have to say, this is a huge, big shaft move by Microsoft and just a big power play. Not only are they leading the pack when it comes to backward compatibility, but now they're taking their larger library of backward compatible games and making them even better to play on the new gen consoles. And not just the flagship, but also their budget banger, the Series S. So, I mean, I think that's awesome, especially because a lot of these games, at their core, are still really fun to play. Like a lot of these classic 360 and Xbox One games are worth a revisit, but people haven't had a need to or a want to. But now that the frame rate's doubled, that might kind of push people to revisit some of their childhood classics. So I just think that's really cool. Drop in the comment section below your guys' thoughts on this. I personally think it's really cool. By the way, if I'm talking really fast in this video, it's not crystal meth. I just pounded a cup of coffee, just took it to Pound Town, so I'm really jazzed up over here. If you liked the video, it was entertaining or informative for you guys, please like the video. That helps to get it seen by other people, as the Google algorithm does my YouTube channel no favors around these parts. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover a lot of news in the gaming industry and community, as well as I do a lot of gaming peripheral reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, etc. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.